I know that I'm not up to the task right now, so whatever I would say would just be an opinion, and I don't like to give an opinion
based on
based on really nothing.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, I only
just
do that
As
with
an
you,
anti,
Felix.
as an anti-federalist, I like to get rid of the executive branch and the Supreme Court. Allow the states to put out the laws of Congress.
Yeah,
Or
but you know,
when the country when the
but it,
country was founded, we had the federal government. The states made the federal government. Okay, so the
right.
states made the federal, and under the Articles of Confederation, the states had their voice in the federal government, and that's the way it should be. The states should go there, and the federal government should be just to protect the borders and to take care of things there. But the states are supposed to actually rule on social conditions and stuff like that. It should not be the federal government. So we
But
got to
you know,
get away from all that.
but you,
Like Obama come on and says, we could have transgender bathrooms in our schools. Like, are you kidding me? Our founders would have said, you are the stupidest guy I've ever heard of. Nobody said it. And
well,
he's trying to implement it. It ain't going to happen. We're smart enough to realize that Obama's, I don't know where he's out in Marxist land.
when you're talking about the states controlling certain things or whatever, I would only say that Greece tried that when they had city states, okay, and it completely fell apart. We try to say we call ourselves the United States of America, and I just think
And we
that
call because states that are united in one common goal that we're going to set up our own liberty in our own states. And basically, we're going to work as a structure to protect those liberties. And that's what the federal government was founded for.
well, what if the states can't agree? What if you have
The
one
states
state?
can't,
Yeah,
as far as, if the states can't agree, well, then, it's like it depends on what it is. The Congress can come and say, well, this is what we think that you guys should do. And, and if the states don't, it doesn't matter now, even today. That's what the Civil War was even fought over that. It's like the states didn't agree, and it might end up being another Civil War. We might be headed towards another Civil War.
but you would do away with the Congress, wouldn't you?
No,
no,
not the Congress. Keep Congress. Congress was under the Articles of Confederation. You would
Okay.
keep Congress. I would. We don't need the executive branch. It's been really bad. I mean, it's been very bad, and so is the Supreme Court. They've given us so many bad decisions that should be left up to the state.
Well, I have to tell you that as a teacher, okay, I know that some school districts across the country have tried to do away with principals. And what they try to do is they have a board of teachers who sit on a committee, like something along the lines of what you were talking about, and they run the school. And there are elections to the board every X number of years or every year, whatever it is. And of course, there's, I would assume, an overseer, okay? And they set policy within the school. The teachers themselves, along with parents, and there is no principal. So to me, that sounds
Well,
like almost what you were talking about.
As far as education, I think it should be done by the free market. And it's like our country grew up, in the 19th century. Most of the children went to, private schools. They went to
So they
schools.
went to church schools. There was really no
Yeah,
public education.
right, exactly. I don't think the government getting involved in education is bad. I mean, the federal, one of the platforms that used to be for the Republicans was to get rid of the Department of Education when it was created in '79. But since they created the Department of Education, our education system's only gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. And it's just, the government getting involved. Then you just bring in unions and bureaucrats and supervisors and this and that and everything else, and you throw all this money that goes all to the top, and none of it gets down to educating the children. Education, it's just, and that should be up to the states. And then we got 50 models. Do we want one D.C. ruling or 50 states deciding? That's what I always say. That's why we're the United States. That way we can look at it and say, hey, that state's doing that and it's working. Maybe we'll try that. Or we'll tweak it a little here and do this. But it's up to the states to decide how they want to run their education system. It's up to the states to decide, how they want to run their health care. That's not what the federal government is supposed to be doing.
Well,
that's why we're the United States. We want 50 states, not one D.C. ruling us all. That's why they call it flyover nation or red nation, because the people in Kansas don't want to be ruled by D.C. and a bunch of people that vote from California and New York. They can decide their own life and their own patterns in their own state. That's the beauty of the United States.
Well, I could see that. I could see where you're coming from with that.
And that's what we fight for: states' rights. The states, and that's why we have electoral college. We don't want California and New York ruling the rest of us. Let us decide in our own county, in our own community, how we want to educate our children, and how we want to raise our taxes, and how we want to implement our own societies here. Because it's different in Topeka, Kansas, than it is in New York City.
Well, but there are
different in.
But I'm sure you agree that there are certain aspects.
First, trade was bad, and the states are picking away at that. But it should be up to the states to decide those things. And if you don't like that state and its laws, if you don't like gambling and prostitution, don't move to Las Vegas. But if you do like gambling and prostitution, move to Las Vegas. If you like no alcohol in the Bible Belt, there's counties in Kentucky and Tennessee that don't have alcohol, that don't have gambling, that don't have any of those things. They're the Bible Belt. Let them have that. They're going to have their moonshiners because they make stupid laws. I mean, it's stupid to try, the 18th, and you talk about amendments. The 18th Amendment was a very bad amendment. It outlawed alcohol.
How would you have states, Ed? How would you have states raise money? How would they generate income?
They already do generate. I mean, we got more. The states generate their own. It's up to the states too. I wouldn't. It depends on. I would prefer that they would do it through a consumption tax, and and the money itself. I don't believe that we should have centralized money. We should have gold and silver, and if you're in Colorado or something, they're going to start moving to hemp. Hemp's very big, and there's a lot of marijuana trading going on. There's diversity. We should have diversity, money, diversity, and everything. We need a lot of diversity, not one centralization. That's why I'm for decentralization of power, not centralization of power. I'm for the people, of their area regulating their own government the way they want, not one D.C. regulating everybody in this country.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen in the near future.
There's a lot going on. I mean, a lot of states are saying no to the federal government's 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. We passed medical marijuana here, and I worked hard for the liberation of marijuana since 1970. And it's like we're finally getting around to having it happen. It's not because of the federal government, because they're a bunch of yo-yos. They're not going to do anything but what the bankers tell them to do. It's up to the people in the states to get back and say, no, enough of that 1937 Marijuana Federal Tax Act. And then it's up to the states to say, we don't want a drug czar ruling us. We want to, we want to get rid of the Department of Education. We want to get rid of the Drug Enforcement Administration. The DEA was created by Nixon. He's signed on to that, and he also signed on to the EPA. Each state can come up with their own EPA. We don't need the federal government EPA in us. And the federal government was never property. The federal land should go back to the states, and the states can run the parks. And each state has their own parks as it is already. And it's a battle. There's a lot of people that feel like and I'm not saying there's a lot of people who don't like everybody got to be Marxist and we have to have transgender schools and we only have to have one currency and everybody got to think like I said and we better send out tanks and destroy anybody that wants to smoke pot. There's a lot of people that feel that way too, and that's what America's about, and that's why we have the right to burn the flag. And Trump's an idiot. He comes out and says you can't burn a flag. Well, you know what? If you want free speech, that means you have to respect the speech of the most disgusting thing that you don't like.
Well, you see, that's the thing with his supporters. They're exercising their right to free speech when they go to a rally and they boo anybody who's there who doesn't agree with them.
Exactly.
But when it comes to that, well, that's it.
Supporters are even behind them on that. They should, they should put them in jail, or they should just shoot the people who burn flags. And of course, now you're moving into totalitarianism. I only fight for liberty, man. Liberty means decentralization of power, and there shouldn't be a central government trying to manipulate it. Especially the way our PC is today, man. I call it the district of corruption. It's so corrupt, and these guys are so politically correct and so beholden to the bankers. They don't care about what the real people want in their own areas, in their own communities. And we should set up our own community standards. That's what I'm.
No,
and
I
this
don't.
country's big enough. A place that's a Bible Belt, and you can have a Las Vegas that you can get married the same day, have abortion the next day, and go gambling and do anything else you want. If that's the kind of lifestyle you want to live, this have a lot of let your communities don't give us some bureaucrats from D.C. trying to tell us how to live.
Well, it's
and that's
not
what the American vote.
But you see, it's not just bureaucrats from D.C. I mean, you have evangelical Christians who, are trying to tell women and people how to live their life. That they're not allowed to have an abortion. I mean,
have the right to tell anybody anything they want. Just don't use the force of government. Government is supposed to be limited, small, limited. I don't think Trump's going to limit the government. Back in the 60s, in the federal government, there was less than 300,000 employees. Today, there are over 4 million federal employees. We need to downsize DC. We need to get rid of this bureaucrat.
Well, unfortunately, if you just go by numbers, the unemployment rate is going to skyrocket. I mean, I'm just thinking about that. What would these people do if it wasn't for working for the government?
We don't know what's going to happen with the unemployment thing, but if we get the states together, and I don't think the unemployment rate, or they in Colorado and Washington, I know a lot of people are moving out there, and actually, Massachusetts just legalized marijuana too, and Maine. So we're going to see what happens in those states. We can have a boom in the economy soon. You guys got to realize there's been a lot of bad federal laws we're overturning. Bad laws, man, and big government are bad.
Well, we used to have
downsized government. Bring it back to the local.
There used to be a couple who used to call up the show a couple of years ago, and they're transplanted New Yorkers. They live in Colorado now, and they said that probably the worst thing that Colorado did was when they legalized marijuana, thinking that it was going to, they said it was more of a hassle, and people are paying more in taxes than they ever thought they would be. Exactly why, I don't know. I think they said it had to do with, a bunch of bureaucratic paperwork, basically.
Right. Well, that's what they got to get rid of, the bureaucrats there, and they got to start using their own currency. And if we have free market currencies, we would have a